Now you can go ahead and close the center of your magic circle. Just turn it over and pull on that loose yarn end, and that closes up your magic circle nicely. Then take a yarn marker and place it right where you left off, and you're going to do 1 single crochet into every stitch around, and you're going to do that for 2 rounds, and then come back and I'm going to show you how to change color. After you finish 2 rounds of 1 single crochet into every stitch, you can take your crochet hook, go into the next stitch over. Oh, and also you can turn the work so that the right side is facing you, and you have your loose yarn end on the wrong side, which is inside the horn. And when you have the right side facing you, take your crochet hook, go into the next stitch over, bring up a loop. Now you should have 2 loops on your hook. Take your new color, which is the same color as your giraffe. Go ahead and loop the yarn and bring it through both loops on the hook. Make sure you leave enough loose yarn end for burying into your work and tying a knot. Then make a chain 1. Then you can take and cut the previous color that you were using. And tie a knot. You can put all of your loose yarn ends onto the inside. Tuck them all inside the center of the horn. And then you're taking your new color and you're going to do 1 single crochet into every stitch all the way around until you've completed 6 rounds. So 6 rounds of 1 single crochet into every stitch, and then come back. So you can see how I'm just working 1 single crochet into every stitch around until I've completed 6 rounds. You don't have to slip stitch or anything like that. You just keep working 1 single crochet into every stitch. And you can count, you can see how I've completed 1, 2, 3. And I'm just working 1 single crochet all the way around until I've finished 6 rounds. Now after you finish 6 rounds, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, you can go ahead and do a slip stitch into the next stitch over. So go into the next stitch, yarn over, and bring the yarn through both loops on your hook for a slip stitch. And then you're going to finish off, go ahead and yarn over, and bring enough yarn through to sew the horn onto the giraffe. And you're going to need two of these, so go ahead and make another one of these. Now you should have 2 horns completed. Before we sew the horns and the ears on, I want to show you how to make the centerpiece for the ear. And I'm going to use the same color that I used for the nose for the female to show you how to make it. For the male giraffe, I used black yarn for the center part, but for the female, I used this light green. The first thing we're going to do is start with a slip knot. So you just fold the yarn over on itself, and then take your crochet hook and go through the loop. Hold the base of the loop with your middle finger and thumb, and then you're going to yarn over, turn the hook upside down, and go through that loop for your slip knot. And now you're going to make a chain of 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Then hold that last chain with your middle finger and thumb, and then you're going to make a chain of 2. 1, 2. That's going to count as your first half double crochet for the next row. Then you're going to yarn over. You're going to go into the stitch that you're holding with your middle finger and thumb, or the third stitch from the hook. You're going to bring up a loop, 3 loops on the hook, yarn over and go through all 3 for a half double crochet. And then you're going to yarn over, you're going to go into the next stitch for a half double crochet. And then you're going to do a slip stitch into the next stitch. So you're going to go into the next stitch, then you're going to yarn over and bring the yarn through both loops on your hook for a slip stitch. Then you're going to finish off, you're going to yarn over and then just pull enough yarn through to sew the inner ear onto the ear. So you're going to need 2 of these, 1 for each ear, and then come back. Now after you finish making 2 of them, you're just going to take one and you're just going to take your tapestry needle and place it onto the long end that you left for sewing. And then you're just going to place it where you want onto the inside. And then you're just going to sew it to the inner part of the ear, not the outer part. So you just take your tapestry needle and you just go through superficially so you don't go through both ends. And then you just sew it in place. And you're going to do that on both sides. And then just when you're finished sewing, I'm going to go ahead and sew it on and show you how I tie my knot. So I'm going to go out the bottom, and then I'm just going to tie a knot. And then you can tuck the loose yarn ends into the inside of the ear. And then you can see how it looks. And then I don't have it going through the back side. So go ahead and sew the other one onto the other ear and then come back. Now go ahead and stuff both horns with stuffing. And then take your tapestry needle and place it onto the long end that you left for sewing, or get the same colored yarn as the bottom of the horn. And then we're going to sew the horns in place onto the top of the head. Now you're going to line up your horns until you have them where you want to place them. And then once you know where you want your horns, then you can sew them in place. And I left a couple of stitches in between the horns. And then once you know where you want your horn placed, you take your tapestry needle and then you just go into the head and then you come up through the head. Make sure that you have the horn where you want it to be sewn on, and then once you're sure where you want it, just get my hand in there, then you can take and sew it in place. So you just go in and out of the head and the horn with your tapestry needle. And then you just sew it in place. And then once you have it sewed in place, come back and make sure you finish off towards the back, and then I'll show you how to tie a knot and bury the loose yarn end. Now once you have the horns sewn on where you want them, finish off sewing in the back of the head, and then you can tie a knot. Just go through one of the loops on the back. And you can even do it a couple of times just to make sure that you've tied a good knot. And then once you've tied your knot, then you could take your tapestry needle, just go through where you tied your knot and then come out anywhere. And then you just cut your loose yarn end. And now you have your horns on, and we're just going to sew the ears on now. Now we're going to take and sew the ear on. So I already sewed one on so you can see what it looks like. And then you're going to take your tapestry needle with the yellow colored yarn, and you're going to line up the ear right below the horn and right next to the eyelash. And then we're going to sew the front part first. So you're just going to take your tapestry needle and just go down into the head and then up through the front of the ear only, and just leave enough of a loose yarn end for tying a knot. And then you're just going to take and go in and out of the body, not the body but the head, sewing the front of the ear first. And then you're just going to go back towards where you went in. And you're sewing only the front for now. Make sure that it's still lined up. And then you can take and tie a knot when you go back to where you started. And then once the front is sewn on, then you could take your tapestry needle and then go back through the ear and through the head, and then go out towards the back. And then you have the front sewn on. So now you're going to take and turn it over so you can sew the back on. So now you can see where I came out on the head. So I'm going to go back in through the head and up through the back of the ear. Just makes for a neater, nicer stitch. And then I'm going to go through the ear and back down into the head. And then I'm just going to keep sewing the ear to the head. And then you can see how it's getting sewn on nicely. So go ahead, finish sewing your ear on, and then come back. Actually, I think I've already pretty much sewn it on. I'm going to show you how I finished mine off. So once I've sewn my ear on, now I'm back where I have my loose yarn in, so I can tie a knot. And then once you've tied your knot, Then you can take your tapestry needle and you're going to go into the head where you tied your knot, and you're going to come out anywhere on the head and then just cut your loose yarn end. So go ahead, sew your ear on, and then bury all of your loose yarn ends, and then come back and we'll see how to put the head onto the body. So now once you have the 2 feet copper wire folded the way you want, and you can see how I overlapped 2 edges of it, then you're going to put it into the body, and you're going to want to fold it down to fit into the body, just like this. And then you're going to put stuffing all around it. So I actually took it out for a minute, and I'm going to put stuffing into the main body. And then you can kind of poke the stuffing in there also. I just want to make sure that the bottom part of the body has plenty of stuffing in it so it forms a nice ball at the bottom. And then you could put your wire in. And then you're just going to take and put stuffing all around the wire. Now you can see how I put stuffing all around the wire, and this is what the body looks like. And the wire is completely covered and surrounded with stuffing. Now you can take and sew the head on, and how I sewed the head on is I took the loose yarn end, faced it towards the back, and then get your tapestry needle with the same colored gold yarn, and then you're just going to take and place it about 2 rows down. Make sure you don't cover the smile, and then you're going to center the neck with the back, and you're going to be about 1, 2, 3 rows down. And then you're going to take your tapestry needle, you're going to go into the head, and you're going to sew the neck onto the head. And you can take and tie a knot to the loose yarn end. And then just line it up again. And then you're just going to go in and out. Make sure that your head is centered onto the body or the neck, and that your stitches are tight. And then you're just going to take and sew the neck onto the head, and make sure that your mouth doesn't get covered as you're sewing around. As you're sewing around, make sure that the mouth is centered on the body, and just keep sewing in and out until you have the head sewn onto the neck the way you like it. Now, once you have the head sewn onto the neck the way you like it, then you're going to finish towards the back where you had your loose yarn ends, and you're just going to take and tie a knot. on the back. And then you're going to bury your loose yarn ends just like you did before. You just take your tapestry needle, place it on all of your loose yarn ends, and then you're going to go in where you tied your knot, and then just come out anywhere on the neck, and then just cut your loose yarn end. And then that is your neck, how you sewed the head. Now I'm going to show you how to make the feet, and I use this really pretty golden brown from Vanna's Choice for the feet to start with. And you're going to start with a magic circle. Just take your thumb and stabilize and wrap it around your two middle fingers, and then hold it in place with your pinky and your thumb. And then take your crochet hook, go under those two loops around the middle fingers, and then you're going to bring up a loop, then yarn over, turn the hook upside down, and go through that loop for a slip knot. And then you're going to do 6 single crochet into the magic circle, just like we've done before. And then we're going to close it just like we've done before. And again, we're going to do 2 single crochet into every stitch around for a total of 12. Go ahead and finish doing that, 2 single crochet every stitch until you have a total of 12, and then come back. Now we're going to do our increase rounds, and you can close the center of your magic circle if you need to. Just take your yarn marker, place it right where you left off, and you're going to do 1 single crochet into the first stitch, and then 2 single crochet into the second stitch. And then you're going to repeat that pattern all the way around back to the yarn marker. Now go ahead and move your yarn marker up, and you're going to do 1 single crochet into 2 stitches, and then 2 single crochet into the third stitch, and repeat that pattern all the way around back to the yarn marker. Now we're going to do our last increase round. Go ahead and take your yarn marker, move it up, and you're going to do 1 single crochet into 3 stitches, and then 2 single crochet into the 4th stitch, and then repeat that pattern all the way around. When you're back to the yarn marker, go ahead and move it up and just do 1 round of 1 single crochet into every stitch, and then come back. Take the yarn marker, move it up. Now you can kind of turn your work so that the loose yarn end is starting to go towards the inside. And we're going to do 8 decrease stitches. So you're going to go into the next stitch, bring up a loop, 2 loops on the hook, go into the next stitch, bring up a loop, 3 loops on the hook, yarn over, turn the hook upside down, and go through all 3 for a decrease stitch. So that's 1. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. And then you can see how it makes a little pouch towards the front of the foot. Now you're going to do 1 single crochet into every stitch, back to the yarn marker, then you're going to take your yarn marker and move it up. And just do one round of one single crochet into every stitch and then come back. This is how your work should look so far. Go ahead and take your yarn marker and move it up. Now we're going to do 4 decreases. There's 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now go ahead and do one single crochet into every stitch back to the yarn marker and then come back. Now you're going to do one round of one single crochet into every stitch. So just one single crochet into every stitch for one round. And when you come back, I'm going to show you how to change colors. Now you can go ahead and get rid of your yarn marker. You're not going to need it anymore. And we're going to change colors. So just take your crochet hook, go into the next stitch over, and bring up a loop. You have 2 loops on the hook. Go ahead and take your new color, and you're going to hook it and bring it through both loops. Whoop. And then you're going to do a chain 1. Go ahead and take and cut your previous color. You're not going to need that. And then you're going to take and tie a knot. And then just tuck the loose yarn ends onto the inside of the foot. Then you're going to take and do one single crochet into every stitch until you've completed 20 rounds. So you're just going to keep working around. I'm going to do this first one with you just to kind of show you. You're not going to slip stitch after each round. You're just going to keep doing one single crochet into every stitch. And when you reach where you first started, you're just going to keep doing one single crochet into every stitch. So keep working one single crochet all the way around until you've completed 20 rounds, and then come back. Okay, so you should have finished 20 rows. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. And now go ahead and stuff the foot. And after you stuff the foot, you're just going to decrease it closed. So again, you just take your crochet hook, go into the next stitch over, bring up a loop, go into the next stitch, bring up a loop, 3 loops on the hook, yarn over, turn the hook upside down, and go through all 3 for a decreased stitch. And then you're just going to keep doing decrease stitches all the way around until you're almost closed, and then come back and I'll show you how to slip stitch it closed. Now when you're almost closed, we're going to go ahead and slip stitch it shut. So you just take and skip a stitch, go into the next stitch, yarn over and bring it through both loops on your hook for a slip stitch. And you just keep doing that all the way around. Skip a stitch, go into the next stitch, yarn over, and bring the yarn through both loops on your hook for a slip stitch. So I'm going to do one more. And then when you're done, you're just going to finish off, just yarn over and pull enough yarn through to bury into your work. Just pull it down snug. And then take your tapestry needle, put it onto the loose yarn end, and then you're just going to go right where you tied your knot, and then come out anywhere on the foot, pull it snug, and then just cut your loose yarn end, and then you have your foot. So you're going to need 4 of these. I've already made all 4 of mine, but go ahead and make all 4 of your legs and then come back and I'll show you how to put them onto the giraffe. Now go ahead and pick 2 of your feet that you want for the front legs, and get your tapestry needle in the same colored yarn, and then you're going to make sure that your giraffe is straight, that you have the neck lined up with the mouth, so we can line up the arms. Make sure that when you line up the arms that the paws are facing forward, and then you're just going to line them up where you want them. And then once you have them placed where you want and lined up equally, then you're going to pinch them together, and then take your tapestry needle and you're going to go about 1, 2, 3 rows down, go in, and then come out around the same area on the other arm, and then just pull the tapestry needle through. Make sure that you leave plenty of loose yarn end on the other side, and then you're going to go 1 stitch over and then go back through the giraffe. Make sure that you come out close to where you went in. And then you can let go of the arms. Make sure that they're still facing the way they should. And then you're just going to take and tie a knot. And you can make sure that it forms a dimple on the other side. Just tie it snugly. You can see how I tied mine. Do that a couple of times, and then you're going to go back in and do it one more time. So I went through one more time. Now I'm going to go ahead and tie a knot, and then I'm going to show you how to bury your loose yarn ends. I just go twice just to make it extra secure. Gives it a little bit more strength. And then just go in with your tapestry needle where you tied your knot, and then come out anywhere on the arm, and then cut your loose yarn in, and then come back and I'll show you how to do the feet. Now before you move on to the legs, to bottom legs, make sure that you have the arms right where you want them and that the front paws are facing up. And now I'm going to show you how to do the bottom legs. Now for the bottom legs, I attached them the same way, and you can see how I left a little space in between, and this is what it looks like. Make sure that your giraffe can sit, and those are the bottom legs. You can see where I placed the bottom legs just in line with the arms. And now I'm going to show you how to make the tail. Now for the tail, you're going to start with the magic circle again. Just drape it across your 4 fingers, use your thumb to stabilize, and then wrap it around your 2 middle fingers. Hold it with your pinky and your thumb, and then you're just going to go under those 2 loops around the middle fingers, bring up a loop, yarn over, and then go through that loop for a slip knot, and then do 6 single crochet into the magic circle, just like we've done before. And again, you're going to close up your magic circle. And then you're going to do 2 single crochet into every stitch around until you have a total of 12. And then come back. Now go ahead and take your yarn marker and place it right where you left off, and you're just going to do 1 single crochet into every stitch around until you've completed 12 rounds, and then come back. Now I finished 12 rounds of 1 single crochet into every stitch, and you can make your size tail whatever size you want, but that's the size that I made my tail. And then when you're done with the size that you want, you're just going to do a slip stitch into that next stitch. Just yarn over and pull the yarn through both loops on your hook for a slip stitch. Then you're going to finish off, just yarn over and pull enough yarn through to sew the tail onto the giraffe. And then just pull the yarn down snug to form a knot, and you could get rid of your yarn marker. Now you're just going to take your golden brown color, or whatever color that you used for the spots, and then just put some of this yarn onto your tapestry needle. This is going to be the fluffy part at the end of the tail. So now you're just going to take the end of the tail, and we're just going to work around actually this round right here. So here's the center magic circle round, and we're going to go into the next round. So you can see how I just grabbed a stitch, and we're not going to stuff the tail. You can stuff your tail if you want to, but I'm not stuffing mine. And then you're just going to leave the length that you want for the fluffy part at the end of the tail. And then you're just going to form loops. Just go in and out around this row or this round, and make sure that you leave everything the same length. And then you're just going to form loops all the way around, making sure that you leave the loop the same size all the way around. And then you're going to take, you can see how I've finished half of it. So you need to get another yarn piece and just finish until you've completed a circle. And each time that you finish, you're just going to take your loop and then just tie a knot. Be careful with your initial knot so you don't pull the loops loose or make them different sizes. So you just kind of gently tie a knot. And you're just going to make sure that you tie knots in all of them. So go ahead, finish forming the end of your tail, and then come back and we'll see what it looks like, and then I'll show you how to sew it onto your giraffe. Once you finish the tail, you can see how my tail looks. Then take your tapestry needle and put it on the long end that you left for sewing. And then you're going to take your giraffe and just sew the tail where you want it on the giraffe. And I put the loose yarn end facing down because that's where you're going to tie your knot. And once you know where you want to put your tail, then you can take and put your tapestry needle through and up into the body, and then just sew the tail in place. Now once you have the tail sewn on, then you can take your tapestry needle and just tie a knot like you've done before. And then once you've tied your knot, then you can go with your tapestry needle right where you tied the knot. You can go up into the tail anywhere. And then just cut your loose yarn end. And now you have your tail sewn on. Now I'm going to show you how to do the spots. Now you're going to need a total of 14 spots if you want to have the same number of spots that I have. So I'm going to show you how to make 2 of them. So you're going to start with the magic circle. Just take your yarn, drape it across your 4 fingers, use your thumb to stabilize, then drape it around your 2 middle fingers twice, and then hold it in place with your pinky and your thumb. And then just take your crochet hook, put it under those 2 loops, and then bring up a loop. Then you're going to yarn over, turn the hook upside down, and go through that loop for your slip knot. And now you can use any combination that you want for your spots. So I alternated between the single crochet, which you go under the loops, bring up a loop, 2 loops on the hook, yarn over, turn the hook upside down, and go through both for a single crochet. So for this spot, I'm going to do 2 single crochet. So I'm going to go back in, bring up a loop, 2 loops on the hook, yarn over, and go through both for a single crochet. So I just did 2 single crochet. Now I'm going to do a half double crochet. So I'm going to yarn over, go into the magic circle, bring up a loop, 3 loops on the hook, yarn over, turn the hook upside down, and go through all 3 for a half double crochet. I'm going to do 1 more half double crochet, yarn over, bring up a loop, now I'm going to do a double crochet. So I'm going to yarn over, go into the magic circle, bring up a loop, 3 loops on the hook, yarn over and go through 2, and then yarn over and go through 2. So I'm going to do another double crochet, so now you can alternate between those 3 stitches. So now I'm going to do a half double crochet, and then I'm going to do a single crochet, now I'm going to do a half double crochet, and then a double crochet. And you can make your spots as big or as little as you want, and any combination that you want. Now I'm going to do a half double crochet. Then you take your forefinger and your thumb when you're done, hold it at the base of all those stitches, and then you have those 2 loops on the other side of the magic circle. Just pull on one. If it doesn't close, let go and pull on the other one. And then take and close the loose yarn end. And then you're going to do a slip stitch with the first stitch that you created. And then you're going to finish off. Just yarn over and pull enough yarn through to sew the spot onto the giraffe. So you can come up with all kinds of different sizes. Just pull on the loose yarn end to close the center of the magic circle. So I'm going to show you one more. And like I said, you can make these spots any way that you want. It's just a fun way to create your spots. So I'm going to do my slip knot. And now I'm just going to start designing my spot. So I'm going to start with the chain 2. 1, 2. That's going to count as my half double crochet. If I was starting with a double crochet, then you would start with the chain 3. So I'm just going to go ahead and start with the double crochet since I showed you how to do it. Now I'm going to do another double crochet. So I'm going to yarn over, go into the magic circle, bring up a loop, 3 loops on the hook, yarn over and go through 2, yarn over and go through 2. So now I'm going to do one more double crochet, and then I'm going to do 3 half double crochet, and now I'm going to do 3 single crochet, and now I'm going to do 3 half double crochet, and I think that's a good size. So I'm going to hold the base with my forefinger and thumb. I'm going to close up my magic circle and then pull on my loose yarn end. Then I'm going to do a slip stitch to the beginning stitch, and then I'm going to finish off. So go ahead and finish creating 14 spots, and then come back, and then I'll show you how to sew these spots onto your giraffe. Now once you've finished making all of your spots, you're going to place them wherever you want on your giraffe, and take your tapestry needle and place it on the long end that you left for sewing, and then the loose yarn end that's at the back of the magic circle you can just let hang down because we're going to use that to tie a knot. Then you just take your tapestry needle, just go into the body, and you're just going to sew the spot onto the giraffe, just going in and out of the body and just sewing down the spot. Make sure that you sew it on well. And then once you're done sewing the spot on, you're going to come out right where your loose yarn end is on the magic circle on the bottom portion. And then you're going to take and tie a knot. And then you're going to take and bury your loose yarn ends. The same way you've done before, you just go through, come out anywhere, and then just cut your loose yarn end. So go ahead and sew your spots on your giraffe and then come back and I'll show you where I placed all my spots. So I ended up making one more spot because I had forgotten the one of the arms for the giraffe, but you can see how I put a couple spots on the neck and then a couple on the belly, and then I put one on this arm, and then this arm I put two on the leg, and then two on this leg, and then on the back I put one on the back of the head, and then one on the back of the neck, one on the bottom of the back, and then one on the tail. And those are the spots that I put on for my giraffe. Now to make the scarf, we're going to start with a slip knot. So just fold the yarn over on itself. Put the crochet hook through the loop, hold the base of the middle finger and thumb, yarn over and go through the loop for your slip knot. And then you're going to make a chain for the size of scarf that you want. So I made a chain of 60 for my scarf. Then you're going to move up to the next row by hold that last stitch with your middle finger and thumb and then make a chain of 3. 1, 2, 3. That's going to count as your first double crochet for the next row. Then yarn over, go into the 4th chain from the hook, which is the stitch that you're holding. Bring up a loop, 3 loops on the hook, yarn over and go through 2, yarn over and go through 2. And then you're going to do 1 double crochet into every stitch back across. So 1 double crochet into every stitch back across, and then come back. This is how your work should look. And when you're finished with the last double crochet into the last stitch, go ahead and finish off. Just yarn over and pull enough yarn through to bury into your work. And then you're just going to take your tapestry needle and your loose yarn end. You're just going to bury it into your work, so you just kind of weave it in and out. And I like to take mine down a different direction just to make sure it's nice and buried and won't come loose. And then once you have it buried, just take and cut the loose yarn end. Go ahead and bury both your loose yarn ends, and then you're going to make the exact same thing. This is the one that I made for the male giraffe, and then I made the green one for the female giraffe. For the female giraffe, I made the same exact scarf, except I started with a chain of 70, and then I did the rest of it the same way. I did my chain of 3, and then my double crochet into the 4th chain from the hook, and then 1 double crochet all the way across back to the beginning. Now to make the bow for the female giraffe, you're going to take the same colored yarn that you made her scarf with, and you're going to fold it over into a loop. We're going to do our slip knot, and then you're going to make a chain of 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then you're going to do a slip stitch into the first chain that you made. So go into that first chain, and then you're going to hold your work just like this, and then yarn over, turn the hook upside down, and go through both loops for a slip stitch. And that forms a little bit of a circle. Then you're going to go into that circle, you're going to bring up a loop, And you have 2 loops on the hook. Yarn over and go through both for a single crochet. And then you're going to make a chain of 3. 1, 2, 3. And that's actually going to be a total of 4 stitches. And that's going to count as your first treble crochet. So we're going to do 5 more treble crochets into the center of the circle. So in order to do that, you're going to yarn over twice. 1, 2, go into the center of the circle, bring up a loop. Now you have 4 loops on your hook. You're going to yarn over and you're going to turn the hook upside down and go through 2 loops. Now you have 3 loops on the hook. You're going to yarn over, turn the hook upside down and go through 2 loops. 2 left, yarn over, turn the hook upside down and go through that last 2. You just did a treble crochet. So we're going to do 4 more into the center of the circle. Now we have 2 left. Now you should have a total of 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. A total of 6 if you include the first one we did. Now you're going to chain 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then you're going to do a slip stitch into the center of the circle. So go into the center of the circle. You're going to yarn over and bring the yarn back through the center of the circle and the loop on your hook for a slip stitch. Now we finished one side of the bow. Now you're going to chain 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's going to count as your first treble. And now you're going to do 5 more treble crochet into the center of the circle. So I have 2 more. And then you're going to go ahead and chain 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then you're going to do a slip stitch into the center of the circle. Then you're going to finish off. You're going to yarn over and pull a lot of yarn through because you're going to be wrapping it around the center of the bow. So now you're going to take that long end that you left and wrap it around the center, forming the center of your bow. And then just shape your bow. Then you're going to turn over your bow and then just tie a knot with that loose yarn end. And now you have your beautiful bow. Now you can take your bow and place it onto the giraffe's head where you want it. And then once you know where you want to place it onto the giraffe's head, you're just going to sew it right into the head of the giraffe. And then I just come up along the sides of the center of your bow. And just sew it in place. Leaving the ends of the bow free. So I just do one on each side. And then come out near your other loose yarn end. Then you can tie a knot and then bury your loose yarn ends just like you've done before. And then come back. And this is what she should look like when you're all done with her scarf on.